watching the Megalomania, and I'm back with a ranking of Black Sabbath. I promised it, and I am delivering on this promise. And yeah, I already know the comments are going to be nuts with, oh my god, a millennial or a Gen Z is ranking Black Sabbath, has no nostalgia to them. And yeah, that's mostly the reason why I kind of find it fascinating and want to, because I don't have that connection with the like certain eras that most people would have that had these albums as kids. Um, I don't have that. I got into them about when I was like 9 or 10 years old. That's when I got into these albums, but never really were a big, huge fan until like up until 5 years ago, 6 years ago, when I dived deep into Black Sabbath. So I really don't have the connection that most people would have with these albums, and I sometimes have the connections with albums that most people don't. So, yep, they have 19 studio albums, which is a big discography. That's why it took me so long to get this video ready. Um, the 19 is going to be a huge surprise to everybody. It's an album that really I never got into. I got it when it came out, so you kind of already know that I was listening to Black Sabbath when this album came out, so I listened to it about the day that it came out, and yeah. So, number 19 is 13. 8.5. I give this one an 8.5 out of 10. Um, the songs are way too long. They stay around too long. Um, I feel like this album kind of has some good songs like God is Dead and Live Forever, Live Forever being the best one on here. But this album just sticks around way too damn long. It's their longest album. Pretty sure it's their longest album. And it just drags. It halfway in with the fourth track, I'm feeling like this like goddamn, when's this gonna end? It just drags on, and the modern production is just horrible for this album. I feel like if this album was released back in the 70s or even the 80s, it would be a great record. It would be one of their best ones. But yeah, that modern production that they have is just so bad for this album. And Ozzy's vocals are kind of just one tone to this album. It never really goes into those stuff that he would do in his solo albums. His recent solo albums have had this problem. But yeah, other albums like Paranoid and that doesn't have that what you'd want with Ozzy's vocals on this album. It's more of just a one tone, just yeah, it's just not one of my favorites. I think it's their worst one. Um, and their second worst, or number 18, Never Say Die with a 9 out of 10. Same is with the Black Sabbath 13. It kind of Never Say Die seems to stick around too long, and it's not even that long. It's like 45 minutes, but it's not even that long. But it feels like it just an absolute eternity, and that's because most of the songs just blend together, like a Hard Road, Shockwave, Air Dance. They all just morph together almost, and it's just they don't stand out enough. Um, this is when they were having a little bit of trouble with Ozzy, and it wasn't. There's the last one with Ozzy until 13, which both of these albums are like my least favorite Ozzy or Black Sabbath albums. That's all I gotta say about Never Say Die. There's a lot of like, there's gonna be a lot of really hot takes in this one. So, number 17 is Forbidden, the 1995 album with Tony Martin on vocals. Illusion of Power is by far the worst Black Sabbath song ever. I don't like this song at all. They could have done without the special guests on this album. It would be just absolutely amazing. Songs like Get a Grip, Guilty as Hell, I Won't Cry for You, Forbidden, the title track. There's just this album is awesome up until that first song. That first song just completely just throws this album down. That's how tight this ranking is the only thing that brings an album down is one song. If it has one song that's just not as good as the rest of the album, it's low on the list. And there's a lot of ones that people would have really high on the list, low on the list because of this. Um, yeah, that's all I got to say about this one. It has some good riffs to it. The guitars are absolutely awesome on it. Here's another one that suffers for that. Sabbath, Bloody Sabbath at 16. Yeah, a lot of people are going to be mad at me for putting this one at 16, but I just feel like it's the first perfect album. I think none of the songs are like bad, but just a lot of the songs don't stand out. Like Looking for Today and Who Are You, they just don't stand out to me. Um, Sabbath, Bloody Sabbath is probably the biggest standout song on here, and it's probably one of the best Sabbath songs ever. But it's just not as good as the rest of the discography. If this was a band with this standalone album, this album would be an absolute masterpiece. But in Black Sabbath's discography that's so long, it's not a masterpiece in the sense of where it's at on this list. It's a masterpiece in how good it is. It's a great album, but the other albums are just way above it. Way above it. That's all I got to say about Sabbath, Bloody Sabbath. Going into Cross Purposes at number 15. Yeah, kind of falls into the Sabbath, Bloody Sabbath thing with some of the songs not being that memorable, like Virtual Death and Back to Eden. They just blend together. This is the second last one with Martin on vocals. Yeah, it just kind of doesn't hit. Cardinal Sin is the song that really hits on this album. It's the song that gives you that hard hitting riff that you want, and it comes so late in the album that it's just. And none of these songs are bad either. It's still a great album. It's still really enjoyable to listen to, as in all these albums except 13 and Never Say Die. Yeah, that's all I gotta say about that. I'm gonna go fast from now on and not explain myself too well, because I gotta get through a lot, and it's gonna be a very long video if I don't. Number 14, I think we're 14 is Technical Ecstasy, from 1976. Songs like Rock and Roll Doctor, She's Gone, Dirty Women, Backstreet Kids, just great stuff. And then there's some that are kind of iffy, like I don't want to say that it's offensive, but it's all right. Moving Parts, just some of the songs in the middle of the album are kind of just blend in Sabbath songs. Kind of has a weird proggy sound to it. I really do like that with this album. Very enjoyable to listen to, and I always like to come back to this album once in a while, like most of these other albums. Number 13 is Tear. I had to buy this I had to buy this CD on eBay because I couldn't find this one anywhere. Got some good ones like I don't know Monday, I think it's called, The Lawmaker, Jerusalem, Odin's Court, Valhalla. There's just some great songs on here. Absolute. It's just not as good as what number 12 is, and number 12 is going to be a really big one that pisses some people off here. It's a hot take, definitely. Yeah, it's just not as good as the other albums that are above it. That's where it falls. If it was any other band and this was their only album, or yeah, it would be their best album, but it falls there. Number 12 is a very big hot take, Heaven and Hell. The first one with Dio. I did a Dio ranking on my channel. The song that kind of like throw this one off is Walk Away. It's like the only song that I dislike on this album. I I don't dislike it. It's like I can listen to it and really enjoy it, but it's just not as good as the rest of the album. Like Neon Nights, Children of the Sea, Lady Evil, Heaven and Hell, amazing stuff. Wishing Well, Die Young, and Lonely is the Word. Absolute bangers all the way through, and then Walk Away is just kind of a no. It's not. There's nothing wrong with the track, but it's just not as good as the rest of them, and it kind of brings the album down. Number 11, I think we're at 11. 1 or 18, 11. Number 11 is Seventh Star with Black Sabbath featuring Tony Iommi. It's supposed to be his solo album. Um, just the No Stranger to Love. I've seen a lot of people complain about this song. It's the best one on this album by a long shot. And there's some other ones like Seven Star, Danger Zone, Angry Heart, In Memory, Turn to Stone. Just this album is perfect all the way through, but it's just nowhere as near as the other albums. Um, yeah, I think this album is perfect all the way through. There's nothing bad on it. And then here we go, top 10. My top 10 Sabbath records. Number 10, Eternal Idol. Yeah, there's just some great songs on here. Ancient Warrior, Glory Ride, Born to Lose, The Shining, Nightmare, Lost Forever, Eternal Idol. Probably the best one on here is Born to Lose, 5th track. Just Tony Martin's vocals on this album it's just amazing. I think Tony Martin is actually probably like up there with the best Sabbath vocalists they've ever had. He stuck around with them even when they went and did that one-off album with Dio. He came back. Not many vocalists do that. Not many people come back after you just got kicked out of the band for someone else that wasn't previously in the band. Kind of says a lot about Tony Martin as a singer, that he'll come back if you. He's kind of a guy that'll stick around type deal. I definitely think that's great. And here we go, number 9, another hot take. A lot of people's favorite album, Paranoid. Kind of have it low just because of radio play with War Pigs, Paranoid, and Iron Man. Just way overplayed on the radio. You kind of hear them on the We Play Nothing But Rock stations. Not saying the songs are butt rock, but they kind of get played on those stations way too much. Songs like Electric Funeral, Hand of Doom, and Fairies Wear Boots never get really the recognition. I really do like this album front to back, but just the other albums are kind of like less radio played, and I don't hear them too often, so I don't kind of be like, okay, I've listened to the song way too much. Kind of want something different. But yeah, I still think this is their like best commercial record that they've ever done. So number 8, usually people's all-time worst, which is Born Again. The only one with Ian Gillan on vocals from Deep Purple. I think this album is amazing with songs like Burnt, Disturbing the Praise, Zero the Hero, Trash, Digital Bitch, Born Again, Hotline, and Keep It Warm. Digital Bitch is an awesome song. Zero the Hero is awesome as well. It's definitely got a weird sound to this album. The guitars are kind of weird. Just all around, just weird record. But it sounds just amazing. And I revisit it quite often, and I even did a review. So this is where this album comes in on my list. Right here at number 8. Number 7 is Master of Reality. Yeah, it's just a perfect album all the way through. It's like the premier Doom album. I kind of had this one as it was a tie between this one and another album, but I kind of decided this one is not as good as the other album that I had it tied with. Songs like After Forever being probably one of my favorite Black Sabbath songs ever. Children of the Grave, Lord of this World, Solitude, and Into the Void. Absolutely awesome songs. Sweet Leaf, that coughing sound, it's about marijuana. Yep, he's got that doomy sound. Love it. Number 6, the first self-titled album. Um, songs like Black Sabbath, The Wizard, and this there's a combined like big huge track, Wasp, Behind the Wall of Sleep, basically, and NIB. NIB is a classic. Wicked World, Bit of Finger, Sleeping Village, and Warning. If you've ever seen the greatest hits of Black Sabbath, this album is on there. Like, this album's featured heavy on the greatest hits, because it does have the greatest hits on it. It's got that, it's not really, it's got a lot of bluesy elements other than the heavy metal of like the first song. It has like different elements all the way through. It's kind of like when it wasn't completely heavy metal and they were just finding their sound, but I do think it's one of their best albums. Number 5, Mob Rules, the second Dio record that they did with Dio. All the songs are absolutely amazing here. Turn Up the Night, absolutely great track. Voodoo, Sign of the Southern Cross, E5 I-50, I think it is. The Mob Rules, Country Girl, Slipping Away, Falling Off the Edge of the World, and Over. Absolute bangers all the way through this album. There's nothing bad on here. It's got everything he wants. Turn Up the Night's probably the best one on here, and Voodoo. Just absolutely awesome. Awesome album. And here we go to number 4, controversial one for being this high. Headless Cross with Tony Martin. Yeah, the song Headless Cross, this title track, fucking hits. Heavy hits. It's got that 80s, it's got the 80s sound of heavy metal. This is their closest they got to going full on 80s heavy metal. Devil's Daughter, When Death Calls, Kill in the Spirit World, Call of the Wild, Black Moon, and Nightwing. Absolutely awesome. All the songs are great. Devil's Daughter is great. Devil and Daughter, Black Moon, and Nightwing, probably like the best ones on here, other than the title track, which is the all-time greatest, one of the all-time greatest Black Sabbath songs ever. Here we go. Number 3 is an Ozzy record with Volume 4. It's got stuff like Wheels of Confusion, Tomorrow's Dream, Changes. Changes is an absolute awesome ballad. I love it. Love Changes, FX, Spirit, Supernaut, Snowblind, the 2 classic songs from this album. Cornucopia, Laguna Sunrise, St. Vitus Dance, and Under the Sun. If you had to ask me, like, what's the 2 best Ozzy albums of Black Sabbath, it's this one and one coming up. Yeah, this album is just awesome. Number 2 is a big one that not many people consider one of their best, and I do. I really love this album, which is Dehumanizer. You already know what number 1 is now. That's why I didn't say anything with the Ozzy record, because there is an Ozzy one. Spoiler alert. Last one with Dio, the one where they kicked Tony Martin out of the band, and then he came back after this album because Dio wanted to focus on solo. But yeah, stuff like Computer God, oh my gosh, Computer God is awesome. After All, The Dead, just that doomy vibe that song has, and just Dio's just absolute crushing vocals on that song. TV Crimes, probably my favorite one. Letters from Earth, Master of Insanity, Time Machine, Sins of the Father, Too Late, and Buried Alive. Just absolutely awesome doomy album. Probably Black Sabbath's like premier doom album in my opinion. Like, they tried to do that with Ozzy on 13, just didn't work because, well, yeah, it's like what you would see from bands like Candlemass almost. And number 1, or the best Black Sabbath album of all time, is Sabotage. A lot of people have this one lower on the list. I've always loved this album. It's always been my favorite, and probably never will change, because songs like Hole in the Sky, Don't Start Too Late, Symptoms of the Universe, Megalomania, which, if you could see Mania is in. I did get that from that last bit of this of the name of the song, Megalomania. That's where the channel or some of the channel name came from, combining of Metallica and an L in Mania from Megalomania. Thrill of It All, Super Czar, Am I Going Insane, and The Writ. Oh my gosh, this album is amazing. It's it's not the doomy evil type Sabbath. It's more of like the uplifting, like going into the progressive style, but still it's got both of those like mixed in. It's like the transition album. But I just always love this album. The riffs are always like really catchy and like yeah. So that's how I rank Black Sabbath. It's a 20-minute video. It's quite long, but I tried to keep it as short as possible, but didn't really accomplish that. Yeah, I'll see you guys in the next video. Probably will be an album review of Saxon's new album that just came out. If I like the album. Recently, I listened to a couple new albums and I didn't really like them, so I don't do reviews. I don't review anything I don't like unless it's a ranking. So, I'll see you guys in the next video, and stay metal, everybody.